Disclaimer, these tips will not magically make you ace your exams without having actually studied for them first. This video is about what to do right before and during an exam to help maximize your brain's concentration and efficiency under pressure, under the assumption that you are also academically prepared. These tips are ridiculously simple, no extra brain power required. They're not profound, they're not miracle workers, but I truly believe that they can very well make the difference between a B+ and an A-, if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. I've done these all consistently over the course of 4 years at university, 2 years in person, 2 years pandemic, so they will work in both those environments. Also, like and subscribe to this teeny tiny YouTuber. It really helps me out, and let's get into it. First tip is to drink 1 to 2 sips of water before and during an exam. The brain itself is made up of about 80% water. Studies have shown that even mild dehydration can impair your long-term memory recall. In other words, the way in which you access everything that you have studied over the past week or last night. Your clarity, your cognitive response time, because unfortunately exams are timed, as well as reduce your stress and fatigue. And all of those things in tandem are just so conducive to a productive test-taking environment. I've even read that prolonged dehydration can actually cause brain cell size to decrease over time. So that's pretty insane. We don't want that. We're in 2022 right now. Water is in. We are well past the late 20th century obsession with Diet Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Cherry Coke. Water is the new soda. Where am I going with this? Bottom line, drink a couple of sips of water right before the exam. You don't want to feel the urge to pee during an exam because that stresses the hell out of you. At least it does for me. Anytime you feel your brain getting tired or fuzzy during the exam, take another 1 to 2 sips. It'll wake you right up. Unless you did an all-nighter, in which case I can't help you there. In fact, nobody can help you. Just don't do all-nighters. Don't do it. Second tip is to stretch your arms upward and outward before and during an exam. We all know that blood flow is important for brain and bodily function. This very simple movement of stretching your arms upward and outward has been shown to increase blood flow to the brain, thereby oxygenating it, which, if you didn't know, is imperative to your brain's function. Greater brain oxygenation helps with better clarity, memory recall, helping you to think in general, better response time, better concentration, things like that. Stretching also increases our serotonin levels. Serotonin is responsible for regulating your attention, decreasing anxiety, and actually increasing your levels of optimism. Who doesn't want the confidence and the clarity and the optimism, especially when tackling like an ambiguous multiple choice question or an especially cumbersome like free response question, which is everyone's favorite. However, if you think that this movement of this and this is like a little bit too excessive, or you're like tightly packed in like the in-person environment, I roll my shoulders backwards and I stretch my neck from side to side, and that does wonders. Remember, increased blood flow is your brain's best friend. Cut the flip. Third tip, go for a walk right before your exam. Here's this little image that I found years ago that just remained burned into my brain. I haven't been able to find the actual study to back it up. This image is just kind of like free floating throughout the internet. And now, why do this? This light exercise will help increase dopamine levels, which improves sharpness and focus. It increases endorphins, thereby decreasing anxiety levels. And the increased blood flow, like the previous tip, will improve clarity, memory recall. So if it's an in-person exam, I suggest doing a swift walk. Even better, take a friend and practice or like go over some terms or concepts with them as you're walking. 5 to 10 minutes is more than enough. If you are already set up in the exam room and you're like, well, my stuff is already here, I'm just gonna like go on a walk. I used to just excuse myself to go to the restroom before the exam, of course, and I would go into the restroom in the neighboring building. So I wouldn't go in the one in the same building as the exam. I'd walk a little bit further out, and I would suggest that, like, just kind of speed walk, you know? Now, this is what I did when it would be a remote environment. I would throw air punches or like kicks, and I would kick around my office for like 5 to 7 minutes. These punches and kicks will like really, they will pump you up and they will like hype you up, and it'll boost your confidence a little bit, which I think is really important. But here's the thing, right after all that punching and kicking, don't dive right into your exam. Just take like 2 to 3 minutes. You don't want your brain to confuse your elevated heart rate with anxiety. So just take a little bit of time to cool down. Tip number 4 is drink green tea the morning of your exam. Now, it is generally advised to avoid caffeine right before an exam. Caffeine is a wonderful drug when used wisely, and you don't want to overload on the anxiety, or even worse, overload on the sugar. That's like no bueno. But green tea, unlike coffee and all of those other legally addictive stimulants out there, will not give you jitters and anxiety. In fact, the caffeine in combination with the L-theanine will induce within you a state of calm and focus. It'll also reduce your anxiety, unlike coffee, coming from a really anxious individual, by the way, and will increase your brain cognition and function. Okay, so bottom line, instead of reaching for your coffee or your Red Bull, drink 1 to 2 cups of green tea. You can even do matcha if you desire, like, to be a bit more, you know, posh or bougie or whatever. Okay, you guys are gonna roll your eyes at this one. Tip number 5, take 1 to 2 deep breaths before and during your exam. This is by far the fastest and easiest tip on the list. Deep breathing will lower blood pressure, increase energy levels, decrease anxiety and self-doubt, that's important, increase relaxation and focus. It can actually go so far as to relieve any physical pain you might have. It just goes to show how important oxygen is for your brain. So like, this one should be a given, especially when you feel like you've been sitting around for too long, or you're coming across harder and harder test questions and you just need like the quickest reset on the face of the earth. 1 to 2 deep breaths. It works every time. Don't do it too much though, because that's called hyperventilating, and that is not conducive to a calm and focused environment. Okay, so there you go. Those are 5 simple tips that I have been using consistently over the course of 4 years as someone who is extremely anxious and prone to a lot of test-taking anxiety, for sure. All of these together are just an absolute killer combo when used to complement studying, of course. I strongly encourage you to do all 5 of these the next time you have an exam. Please comment below if you have any other techniques, like mind-body techniques, that you like to use. I'm very curious. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you learned something valuable. Also, the lighting has been so bipolar this entire video. I am so sorry. I greatly appreciate you watching until the end, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye now.